Do we want to start off? I know Connor has made a list of some of the just really questionable people before we start talking about who we chose ourselves. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think we could talk about the players that they missed too. Like I have a couple of guys that I feel like should have been on here and they're not.
Sure, go ahead. Start with the what are you doing here?
All right. Well, I kind of grouped a bunch of guys together just because, in my opinion, and I feel like Andrew's going to agree with me as well, and Adam's probably going to disagree. There's a couple of guys who just didn't play here long enough, and like I understand talent-wise, and the seasons that they had are easily top 10, probably best MLS seasons of all time. But guys like Almiron, Zlatan, Vela, Kaká, they were here for like 2 seasons and then they were gone. So for me personally, I don't think that they should be on. Oh, and Wayne Rooney as well. I don't think that they should be on this list. As well as Freddie Adu is on the list.
Yes.
What? I don't think Alfonso Davey should be on the list. He played pretty much 1 season and then was gone. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's amazing, but in terms of his MLS career, he had one breakout year and then he was gone. And then we were just talking about it before, but Giovanni Dos Santos as well. It's another pretty questionable one. I don't know if you guys saw any other ones.
Yeah, so I mentioned before, like Alex Pineda-Chacon, I looked him up when I was doing this. He's played 34 times in MLS and scored twice. Giovanni Dos Santos, we've talked about. That's a silly one. And then there was one other that I picked out that I was like, that's weird. That's suspicious. I can't find it. It'll pop up for me, I'm sure. But I think it might have been Freddie Adu that kind of popped out. Like, what is he doing on there? And then you look back and it's like, oh, who made extraordinary impacts or whatever. It's like, did he really, or was he just a young guy who was way too hyped? I don't know. Just a disclaimer, by the way, before Adam goes. Our picks are only going in the 2010 decade because, as we mentioned, we haven't watched anything before that, so it'd be a little unfair just to go off of numbers and things, because when you look at people who played in 1995 MLS who were playing against the Farmers, that's just kind of rough. So we'll go with what we know. And Adam, who else you got there that you think is a little weird?
Not necessarily that were weird. I mean, we kind of touched on most of them that kind of stood out. Like, Freddie Adu shouldn't. I don't understand what he's done other than be a 14-year-old wonder kid who is now playing in like Saudi Arabia as a 30-year-old. But I can't think of anything. There are a few that I just straight up have never heard of, so I don't know if they deserve to be on here or not. But for the most part, I kind of could see the argument of putting most of the names on this list. I mean,
Tyler Adams is another one that stood out to me. I think that was one of the ones I was looking at. Like, really good, but best of all time.
Yeah, he was another.
Yeah.
Only there for 2 years.
Yeah. So
I know that they kind of laid out the criteria, like they had to have won something, whether it was multiple things, individual things. One supporter shield gets you on this list.
Yeah, right. Like
one Open Cup gets you on this list. Like
one Gold Cup gets you on this list.
Yeah, we're not winning the Gold Cup though.
We win the Gold Cup every year. What do you mean?
I know. But that's the weird thing is like you have people who have like one Open Cup to their name versus people who have multiple MLS Cups and multiple supporter shields. Like I'm looking at the criteria, and I know I just used him as the example, but I don't think Freddie Adu's won anything in here. Has he?
I'm looking at.
I think he was on that DCU team that won
as a 14-year-old and definitely didn't play. Cool. Didn't realize
I'm looking at Alfonso Davies right now, and he definitely does not meet the criteria. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you guys, if you know better. I'm looking on his Wikipedia right now. He is a 2018 MLS All-Star, and maybe they didn't maybe Vancouver won the Canadian Cup when he was there, but it doesn't say anything on Wikipedia. That's the only thing he has.
I would argue, and I'm not saying this is the reason that he's on this list, but you can argue the way he's carried on since leaving Vancouver and kind of shedding light on MLS that, we have some talented players that can make that jump into Europe and just ball out. Granted, it doesn't always work, aka like Matt Miazga playing, I don't even know where he is right now. Oh, he's in Belgium. I do know where he is. He's playing for Anderlecht. But I think that kind of off the field impact in terms of like, oh, wow, MLS actually isn't only a place for like 34, 35-year-old retired guys to go get a crap load of money. It's like we actually have some up-and-coming young talents that are actually half decent. That would be my only kind of reasoning behind it. I'm not saying that's what MLS decided and that's why he's on here, but you never know.
So Alfonso Davies did not win anything with Vancouver. However, Freddie Adu has an MLS Cup and a Supporter Shield to his name.
Look at you go, Freddie.
Look at him go.
And people say he's a flop.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Look at his
He
trophy
might
case.
not have been able to do it in Europe, but how many Europeans say they've got an MLS Cup?
I mean, quite a few of them.
Same amount of Europeans as Red Bull fans, I guess.
No, that's not true.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Beckham has one?
I meant European fans. That's on me.
Oh, all right. I was going to say there are plenty of Europeans who have one.
Who do you guys think is missing from this list? I have a couple names written down.
The one that stands out, it's hard because I'm trying to use their criteria. So the first name that came to mind was Drogba, but he didn't win anything with Montreal, to my knowledge. I don't know how much of an impact or contribution he had while he was in Montreal. I mean, he's obviously now no longer player manager, but was player manager at Phoenix Rising and had a huge impact on his first season there. They went to the USL final and ultimately lost it, but still had a huge impact when he was there. But I know the one season he played in MLS, he had like 21 goals in 32 games or something. So like,
yeah, I'm not sure who could have been left off per se. I'm sure there are some that like are clearly missing that I'm just not. Because I didn't think about who should be here that isn't, but. You look at Kamar Lawrence's, for example, who has 3 Supporter Shields, one of the best outside backs in the entire history of MLS. Justin Morrow, if you want to look defensively, those types of players that kind of got snubbed, I'd put those guys in that list.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. I had Morrow on my list. Another big one that I was shocked was not on here. Nico Lodero.
Fair.
Nico Lodero got 0 love in this league, and I don't understand why.
How is he not on this list? You put so many other people on here instead of him. You put Giovanni Dos Santos on this list instead of Nico Lodero. I also wrote down Fabian Castillo. He's not on here.
Interesting.
I mostly wrote him down because he was in my best 11. This one I wasn't totally sure if he should be on here because I know he wasn't here for very long, but I wrote down Femi Martins.
He's a fun pick, right?
He is a fun. I wouldn't have picked him in my 25, but to be maybe on the list, I don't know.
He should be on the list.
I'm sure Seattle fans will agree.
Yeah, you can make a place for him on this list. It's not like how many people are actually on this list. Like you could.
It's like 130 something.
It's 137 total. You could have fit 2 more people in there.
Yeah,
It's not like you had a hard stop at 137.
Right. Like
yeah,
one more person.
It's such a weird number.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wrote down Tony Beltran, Sebastian Letou, and Lee Win.
Sebastian Letou is an interesting one.
Lee Win should
Tony
be on this
Delk.
list.
I like Lee Win. If we're gonna go talk about big center forwards who didn't get enough love, Kenny Cooper should be on this list too. Love me a good bit of Coop.
Both of them could be on there instead of Dom Dwyer.
I just saw Don Dwyer's name. Like, why? Two goals in 2 games in the Gold Cup, baby. That's why. Oh man. Goodness me.